It's the same idea, alcohol and football. If you pull those apart, why did you like football? Because you weren't getting hammered up watching football when you were like 8 years old. There was something about it that caught your attention, your imagination, right? That got you celebratory, right? There was enough of like a dopamine and like the camaraderie. And then alcohol enhanced it initially, perhaps, until it didn't. And then the event was alcohol. Now you get to go back to football. What is it? What was it that you like about football or music or the Kiss concert or camping? What is it? And guess what? You get to rediscover that.
Are you an avid sports fan, or maybe you love going to concerts, live theater, or just a social butterfly? Well, we've got some conversation to have with you here about decoupling alcohol from what you enjoy. Truly going below the surface of simple enjoyment and how to continue to enjoy these things that you used to couple alcohol with as you move forward in your alcohol-free journey or have a curiosity in how to do so. I'm Coach Jason, and I'm joined by Coach Matt, my fellow coach here at Alcohol Free Lifestyle. And this is a topic that we've gotten a request on, which we do appreciate you leaving comments in the comments section on the YouTube channel, or we've had it sent through. I believe this was from an AFL member who's an avid sports fan, and I think it was American football, and they're like, hey, I'm concerned about this football season coming up because it's been a part of my ritual and routine. I think they said since they were about 18, where alcohol, drinking the beer, barbecue, and all this with Sunday football, which I know you can relate as me and yourself are music people and going to concerts and things like that, and what that was like to experience that for the first time, genuinely, authentically, and really show up. So figured this is a great topic for us to discuss together.
Yeah, 100%. Let's get into it. I know, American football season, I think it starts fairly soon at time of recording here. It's the end of summer. CFL, I'm a Canadian boy, as you guys may or may not know. CFL's already been going for a while, but we don't want to be playing too deep into the Canadian winter, so we start early.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, and I mean, hey, you figure, the summer concerts that happen, a lot of the bands that we like out there touring, doing all the sheds and outdoor arenas and such, but even the normal socializing, like alcohol for many was so deeply embedded and coupled with those types of rituals, routines, the quote unquote perception of enjoyment. And really, I would like to ask you, where did you start uncoupling alcohol from the things that you were doing and attending? I mean, even your passion as a talented musician and playing music.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So, the two things for me, I'm more into sports now, but definitely when I was a heavy drinker, I was music. I was the music guy for sure, right? I was playing at one point playing three bands that were all actively, playing around town in the areas around town, and all three the jams that we would have were legendary, legendary in my mind anyways, and the folks that would participate in them, like all-nighters, right? It'd be alcohol and drug fueled from like 6 p.m. We'd watch the sun come up the next day kind of jams, right? Just in there for hours at a time. So the idea for me, especially at that age, late 20s, early 30s, to go from consuming, the 12 to who knows, try to get through a flat of beer, when I would get into it, to like zero was an impossibility. I just like, how am I even going to do this? I'm a daily drinker, like heavy daily drinker, and drugs. So, and music was, to me, was just like, that's how I learned. I read all the Led Zeppelin biography, Keith Moon. It was like so ingrained in my identity as a musician. Musician means that you do all these wild substances and go crazy, and it's like a reckless life, and the Kurt Cobain thing, like die early. Like at that point I was like, wow, it's kind of this badge of honor. I had this strange idea that I was not fit for past early 30s. At one point, that's literally what my mentality was. Right. So that's how it's all started. So then when it came time to like, hey, like party's over, right? It was very awkward initially. But I'll tell you, coming from somebody that I just shared how much I was drinking, it was daily. to nothing for a extended period of time. It was like 3 years, but I'm talking about the initial time. In fact, it's worth mentioning my band got a grant to record a professional album as all of that was happening. So it was the first time in my adult life that I'd ever played or performed even a note of music without getting high or having a couple of beers before I played, including when I was like 16. Like I would go and puff up before that was just the ritual around it. I'm not gonna play stone sober. That's simply not gonna happen. So as it was right as I was getting into my parts that I'd be recording the guitar parts and the singing, and I had none of that. So that's how I initially got it. I felt out that whole idea of like not using substances, and honestly, it's like the first time's always strange. The first day in the studio was like very almost surreal, right? But then even by the next day, I saw so many benefits to it that I was just like, damn, why didn't I give this a chance before? I'm actually remembering. I have like the recall is like so much better, as you can imagine, for like remembering my parts, my lyrics, and I'm actually more creative than I thought when I'd have to go in and fill in some lyrics. I'm like, that didn't make any sense, or that doesn't rhyme. Why did I write that? And I'm like editing. I always thought I had to get this like Ernest Hemingway. I'd have a couple of like the drunken Hunter S. Thompson style writing,
Right.
and it's not. I didn't need any of that, and it was apparent almost immediately. And then I was open to it, and then so I was just like, oh, well, what else is possible? And then the second one, I'll risk of oversharing. This will be my second one. I'll throw it back to you. Was camping. So anybody that knows me, I'm big into nature and being outside and camping. But for camping, for me, same thing is like I pull up to the campsite, the previous version of me, with like a flat of beer, and the setup is like I'm literally crushing beers every step along the way. So I've had 4 or 5 by the time my campsite's set up, and then it's sit down, have some more beers, right? So it's like many beers as I can ingest as quickly as possible. And the first time I went out, I actually did it by myself because I was like, I just want some time to myself, some solitude. Sounds like a great idea. And again, the first night was just like, it takes like 20 minutes to set things up when you're not slamming beers and getting all scattered. And then I'm just sitting there by myself. I go, this is kind of boring. Like this is camping. Maybe I don't like camping, right? But then the next morning I woke up, I was super refreshed, and I had this like feeling of relaxation that I had never really experienced before, and I was starting to like open up to the things around me, the birds chirping and all, and then I had this like that epiphany of like, oh, yeah, right, this is what camping is, right? So I say that all to get back to your initial point, like the decoupling. It's like, man, I've been clutching onto it. It's terrifying initially, and then after it's like, oh, the hell was I worried about? In fact, why didn't I try this like years ago? Right? So that's my personal experience with it from the music side and then the camping side. How about for yourself?
Yeah, I can remember several things. For one, the missus and I, one of our early dates, going to see Kiss, one of my favorite bands of all time. And then having a conversation with her, like, from the age of 21, I never got blackout drunk at a concert or had to be babysat, but I definitely always drank. And like, oh, am I going to enjoy this? By the end of it, I lost my voice, my feet hurt. I had an amazing time. I was like, yeah, okay, I still love this. This is still fun to me. And then I've had other experiences where I've used to go to like heavy metal festivals and things like that, and experienced it. I'm like, yeah, not for me anymore. In that type of setting and crowd. Another one that was really big motorsports fan. And I would justify my intrigue of, we'll say NASCAR for this one of, I'm going to watch the pre-race show and then pay attention to the whole race, which usually I nodded out, took a nap, or passed out, let's be honest. And then it was a greater exploration where I acknowledged that. It's like, yeah, I don't need to watch the hour and a half of pre-race. I can watch parts of it, have it on in the background, be productive, get things done, still, enjoy my fandom of it. But it's like, come on, let's be honest here with yourself, Jason. There's a good amount of this where it's just people tracking laps and saving tires and all this stuff. So it's like, really look at it for what it is. Like, are you the avid American football fan? Do you have to watch every game, or was the alcohol really fueling the fact that you thought you were more interested than you are, or that you would sit there, or that you can't like almost habit stack? Like, sure, I'll have the game on, but I can also be productive during that time. And for me, that was the greater exploration of any of those things that I enjoyed, on TV, we'll say, as opposed to in-person experiences was, yeah, there's space within it to, have it on, but also, pull out the laptop, get some work done, some house chores done, things of that nature, and feel more productive in the day, but still enjoy, so it was looking at the greater opportunity, to your point around, when I'm experiencing something in person, being truly present. And then when it's something at home on TV, like, this doesn't require my deepest of attention. Let's be honest. Like, I'm not going to miss the nuances of it all. It's okay to get some laundry done, clean the bathroom, go outside, do a little bit of yard work, come back. Guess what? We have the technology where you go, boop, boop. Oh, I can rewind it and then fast forward through commercials. Like, it was just really changing that internal story that a FOMO really of, I'm just going to miss something major. It's like, no. You're not. You can rewind or watch it later, or even, guess what? Read about it. So it was changing that story that, like, I have to be there in front of the TV, or I can only go and let that inner joy come out and sing along and dance to the music if I have, some drinks in me. And I've had enough evidence of which I made sure to go back and journal around, that I didn't need that. Matter of fact, it was way better. It was genuine. It was authentic. I still remember it. We'll take Kiss, for example. Saw them well over 20 times. I remember two shows that I saw them really well. The first time when I was 18, and then the last time I saw them. Everything in between, a little bit blurry. I know I was there.
Yeah, great. I like the idea of, like, it's redefining. It's like the story that you tell about the event, and really, realistically, if there's somebody out there like the member that had mentioned, like, hey, this is coming up with American football, like the tailgating and everything that's going on with it. Again, I think just based on what you and I have suggested is, like, just pulling alcohol out of it, right? It's this like other way of looking at it is collapse distinction, right? Where two ideas have merged, yet they are and have the ability to be two ideas, right? So, like, love and worry, right? Like parenting, moms generally have love and worry are baked in as, like, I show my love by worrying about you, right? But they're two ideas, so you pull them apart. It's the same idea, alcohol and football, right? If you pull those apart, why did you like football? Because you weren't getting hammered up watching football when you were like 8 years old. I mean, maybe you were, hopefully not. Right? But it's like there was something about it that caught your attention, your imagination, right? That got you celebratory, right? There was enough of, like, a dopamine and, like, the camaraderie, and then alcohol enhanced it initially, perhaps, right? Until it didn't, and then the event was alcohol, and then it was alcohol with some football, right?
Yep.
So now what is it? Now you get to go back to football. What is it? What was it that you like about football or music or the Kiss concert or camping? What is it? And guess what? You get to rediscover that. But ultimately, we just talked about in the last podcast about evidence, right? We have beliefs that are based on evidence. The Google search engine that is in the brain. Just type into the search engine in your brain, what did I used to like about football? And then it'll bring up those articles, that evidence of, like, yeah, when I was a kid, like that, that's what captured my imagination. I loved having the poster of whoever, Bo Jackson, right, on my room or whatever it was, right? And just get back to that and start leveraging that. Put your focus on that, and that becomes the what I get to versus the what I no longer choose to or no longer get to do, that being alcohol.
Absolutely, and again, that's where that I'll reinforce as we speak to many a times the curiosity around it, the curiosity and exploration. And I'll close on this note here, Matt, to wrap us up. I also noticed I'm not so reactive. Like, my day would be like, oh, my favorite driver wrecked out. Forget it. Like, this sucks. And it would be like, yeah, it's an event I have no control over. This is how it goes. This is a byproduct of a very dangerous sport and motorsports, and that's how it goes. No one was hurt, so all good.
That's an interesting part about it too. And I've even heard, and this will be my final point, just to piggyback on yours, is like there's a couple of members that we've had that used to watch like every ball game, right? And they're just noticing the same thing. It's like it was just a habit. They don't even weren't necessarily enjoying it. They didn't need to, and they just don't have this other like buy-in to it, right? It's a lot more casual, but in a way, it's more enjoyable because it's more casual. There isn't this strange expectation that they've baked into it.
Yep, absolutely. Perfect take home, my man.
Yeah, it's great. And speaking of taking it home, really appreciate all of you listening or watching. If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a subscribe. If you're listening on one of our podcast platforms, a review is always welcomed, of course. Thanks for the 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. 5-star with some text is really what helps us expand our reach, which very much appreciated. And so thanks in advance for that. And if there's anybody that you know that can benefit from this show, please share it. This is certainly not a do-it-yourself project, and this is the community is everything, right? In this genre that we coach in. So if you want to go deeper yourself, visit us at alcoholfreelifestyle.com to subscribe to the newsletter. If you're actually ready for more and you want to walk through the door, so to speak, and start your own alcohol-free journey, text one of our amazing team members, Kai, at the following phone number: 1-361-321-7764. That's 1-361-321-7764. Text your name to Kai to that phone number, and he will set up a conversation with you.